Hey, I'm James from Insulated Barbecue, and today we're gonna unbox, smoke some ribs, and last but not least, do some fun tests on what might be one of the most interesting offsets I've ever tested. So I'll put this up on screen so it'll be much easier for you to follow along as I read off a couple of the specs and features about the Gen 2 smoker. Then I'll get into one of the reasons why I think it might be one of the most interesting offset smokers that I've tested. After that, we'll get into our cook and I'll share some unboxing experiences along the way. So first up, this is the second generation smoker, which immediately captured my attention. So last year I did a cheap offset test, and I found with $50 in mods with a stack extension, lowering the intake, as well as using some fire bricks to get a semi-insulated firebox, I was able to make dramatic improvements in my cheap offset smoker that produced food at the time much closer to what a premium offset was able to turn out. Now, there's still some usability things that were sacrificed along with that form factor. So when an option is coming along out of the box with a thick insulated firebox, with a stack that's properly sized, with a collector that's the entire width of the cook chamber and located at grate level, along with 2 cooking grates and a whole bunch of other features for around $1,900 bucks, I just had to get my hands on it. So thanks to the good folks at Old Country for sending this along for today's video, along with a bunch of other tests that I have in mind. So make sure you're subscribed and have the notification bell turned on for when those come out. So the specs, so make sure I don't forget anything of this G2 smoker. So we have outside dimensions, so it's 26 by 69 by 70. We have a 3/8 inch firebox with a 1/4 inch body, and that is insulated and a double wall firebox. The claim here is, again, improved fuel efficiency and saves on wood consumption, and that's one of the things that we're going to test today. A couple years ago, I saw my friend Steve Gow from Smoke Trails Barbecue go through great lengths to try and put a temperature controller on the top of his smokestack to do an overnight brisket. I love a brisket on an offset smoker, but the idea of running your fire overnight doesn't appeal to many people. And while it might be an error, when it was first listed on Academy Sports website, they listed that the firebox had a 20-pound capacity for charcoal, and because of the insulation, it promised a 12-hour burn time. Now that fact has since been deleted. It's long gone, and I'm sure it's an error from another smoker that they sell, but I couldn't help remember Steve's video and want to see, if we were to test this, just how well insulated is this, and are we able to maintain a long slow cook taking advantage of that insulation. So that's something that we'll check later on in the video. It also comes with a tuning plate included, as well as a removable baffle plate, which are both included, a 33-inch extended removable smokestack, 3 temperature gauge ports, so we can go left, right, as well as the upper rack. Lots of information with those analog dials, which are large and easy to read. A 1/4 inch thick carbon steel body with all welded constructions. 2 cooking grates. Our main cooking grate is 17 by 35, and our secondary cooking grate is 8 by 35. And I'm told that that has been updated or expanded slightly over the very first production run that came off the line. And this, as you can see from me moving it around in the unboxing clip, is equipped with caster and wagon wheels, as well as a 2-handed grip handle. So now that you know all the specs and features, let's compare how this fits into the market from a price and feature comparison perspective. So there are a lot of choices when it comes to picking an offset for your backyard, and I can't possibly fit them all on one page and represent the entire industry, but I've picked 3 what I will call direct-ish competitors to compare the size, some key features, as well as the price. But by all means, if you have another one that you've looked into, you're really passionate about, put your comment down below, and that'll serve as a resource to other people to go and check out. But the 3 that I've compared here to see how the G2 stacks up feature-wise include the Franklin offset smoker, of course, that gets a lot of attention. The Lone Star Grill's Texas offset smoker, which I think is a tremendous tremendous value. I had a chance to see one of those in person, never had a chance to cook on it yet, but it's very well made, as well as the Yoder loaded Wichita. So the metal gauge on all of these, you know, really quick comparison, all 1/4 inch in terms of thickness. The weight, this is the smallest, so it's got the least amount of weight as well as the least amount of cooking space. So it comes in at 479 pounds, which I can vouch for being all of that, as I was single-handedly trying to get it off of the crate and struggling to do that, but still able, thankfully, to manage it with those handles. But a good weight, but coming in about 100 to 200 pounds below these other models. So the highest one is the Lone Star at 650 pounds. The cooking grates are the smallest out of this group of 4, but they're 17 by 35 inches. The Franklin 19 by 36. Lone Star is the largest, 23 by 40, and they have again a larger configuration. If you wish for more cooking space, they have an expanded size. And then the loaded Wichita is 19 by 39. The firebox on the Old Country is 19 inches in length, which is the same as the Yoder Wichita. The Lone Star is 20 by 20 by 18, and the Franklin, I couldn't get exact confirmation, so I asked Jeremy from Mad Scientist, and from memory, he wasn't sure either, but thought it was 21 inches. So if I'm a little bit off on that one, sorry to the Franklin pit, but I think the Franklin has the largest firebox out of this test. Where things really start to show up, since so far Old Country isn't ahead in any of these comparisons, is when we start to look at the price. And so the price for the Franklin, being the most expensive, is $5,150. So that's 271% more than the G2. The Lone Star is 168% more, and the loaded Wichita at $3,059 is 161%. So the suggested retail price here of $18.99 is putting this, while kind of competitive on a couple of features, definitely a little bit smaller. Its strong card here that it is playing in full force is the value, which I think will appeal to many people based off of my cheap offset mods videos that I did last year. There's a lot of people that want the full offset experience without the full price tag that comes along with that. So in that regard, does it deliver? For my first cook, I decided to go for 2 racks of ribs. This is a great starting point, and since I've just done a bunch of other rib cooks recently, including on pellet grills and Kamados, a frame of reference is only a day old at this point, so this is what I grabbed out of the refrigerator. For the rub, if you're interested, I like recreating my own rub. So I took the best things from Franklin's, Goldie's, as well as Black's, along with a couple modifications, and I post that for free on my website, so that's always a resource for there, and I put it on the website as if we make small tweaks and improvements, it's easy for you to find. So after I let those ribs get about an hour to soak up the rub compound, so we started to sweat out, I fired up our Old Country G2 for the first time. Now, since this is the maiden voyage to find out what we need from a fire management, I started with the Derby fire method. So last year I did an offset fire management for a whole bunch of different size backyard offsets, and while there are so many great resources and so many people willing to share their experience when it comes to an offset, the too long didn't read version of that offset for fire management video for backyard size offsets is some of the rules that work really well on big offsets, 500 gallons, 1,000 gallons, just don't translate down to the backyard size. And the example here was if I tried to apply the Derby fire to something like my Oklahoma Highland, we were getting 500-600 degrees. We're just absolutely nuclear. We couldn't sustain anything close to smoking temperatures. But since that has been a fire method that has worked really well on my Echo reverse flow offset, as well as my Huron Gen 2 by Smoke North, this is my starting position to see if this is the type of fire that we'd be able to dial down and contain. And very quickly, I realized the power of the insulated firebox being fully insulated, double walled, along with insulation material, not just an air gap providing that double insulation. Our temperatures were almost astronomical, way too much fire. I couldn't even knock that down with the damper as well as the adjustment on the draft door into the firebox. So later on, I found quickly the cadence is a single log was more than enough to give me what I needed for running a low and slow temperature. And so while I wouldn't profess by any means to call these the best ribs that I've ever done on an offset, but bad offset ribs still, in my opinion, destroy pellet grill ribs, which was the highlight of the taste test. So cheers. Good bite through texture. Wow. Well, so how did we do? Well, judging by the tenderness there, those could use maybe another 20 to 30 minutes. Their bite through, not fall off the bone. I don't like fall off the bone, but maybe another 15, 20 minutes or so would have been right on the spot. But as we are losing daylight quick, the family's hungry, and I need to get these inside as we have some company waiting for dinner as well. So ran out the clock on this one. But if we're gonna call that a bad offset cook, it's amazing that even bad offset cook ribs leap to the front of the pack compared to some recent examples that I just did, for example, on a pellet grill, where you just don't get near the depth of flavor. So I know that we can cook, and now that I've got the fire management dialed in to what this particular pit likes, I was curious, based on that efficiency, just how long this would go if we were to fill the firebox up with charcoal, start a fire, and let it fly. So starting with a cold pit to try and simulate what my friend Steve from Smoke Trails was doing, which is an overnight cook. Can we do that on something like an offset? Now, again, this is not my preferred method. I have plenty of grills that are charcoal. So my very biased opinion, but my opinion is if I'm gonna have an offset, I wanna get the full wood flavor experience. If I want something that tastes like charcoal and a small fire running very efficiently, I have other choices in spades that I can do that. But if you don't have a charcoal grill that is very efficient, this idea of getting a long burn period with charcoal might help make some of those overnight cooks more attractive. So I filled up the firebox. I used the charcoal grate this time, which I didn't use for my cook, as well as installing the tuning plate and baffle, which I had removed both of those for my first cook, as I wanted to go for, just like how my other offsets run, as a direct flow, the Texas style, where we're coming right out of the firebox, getting that rainbow arc heat pattern being pulled back down into our collector at grate level. And so once we had a full firebox, started a fire and put a potato probe in. So that's just a potato with a meter probe for tracking purposes, so that I could data log this cook. After trying to find sort of how much air to have on the top of my smokestack, as well as in my damper door, I thought I had this dialed in at a fairly flat, sort of averaging 250 degrees Fahrenheit for about an hour. So got up and went away. While I was away, sort of the 2-3 hour mark, the charcoal fire got a little bit carried away, and it did shoot up beyond what I would want. Not completely unreasonable. We were in the 300 degree Fahrenheit range. And when I came back much later in the day, things had sorted themselves out a little bit as we had come back down into a reasonable smoking range. And so my total useful smoking range of being above 225 to 230 degrees Fahrenheit was 8 hours using just charcoal. So while that wouldn't necessarily be my preference for an offset cook, if this is the only tool that you have, even on a cool day when I did that test, this firebox is so well insulated that it can maintain a useful smoking temperature of 230, 250 degrees Fahrenheit for 8 hours, which I think is absolutely remarkable if that was something that you are after. So efficiency and value for the money are clearly the two strong cards that the G2 Old Country is playing here, based off of the efficiency in that charcoal test, as well as where this falls in pricing to some of those other models that we've compared. I have experienced with other grills that efficiency, there can be such thing of too much is not necessarily a good thing. As a small fire, not burning as much smoke just does not taste the same as a clean, efficient fire where we are burning more wood. In part, why pellet grills I don't find compete with offsets is because compressed wood dust in a pellet does not pack the same BTU and wood flavor of an offset. So I'd like to know what is on your mind for a next test, what you'd like to see me cook. We definitely have efficiency, we definitely have value, but are we trading off maybe too much efficiency for the full offset experience? Let me know what you'd like to see down in the comments for the next test, and I'll be sure to add that to the upcoming content calendar. If you have any other questions and you don't want to wait for that video, join my next members live where we can go one-on-one versus these pre-recorded videos, and you can ask me any questions about this smoker or anything else that might be on your mind. That's it for today though. I'm James from Smoky That Barbecue signing off. Remember, don't be afraid to fire it up.